Good morning, third stall. It is New Year's Eve, and both Dale and I have the day off of work, so it is dark outside, and we're about to head out. Dale's on his way. I'm about to head out to the shop to start getting ready for a bonus third stall day. The dark, cold morning in Michigan on New Year's Eve, which makes me thankful for a warm shop. Don't park here in the trash can. All right, time to bump up the heat. $60 is a nice number. We've got a new fun box to open today. I had a very good Christmas. And there she is. Time to get to work. Well, look who showed up.
Oh, the traffic was horrible.
Good morning, Dale.
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve.
2024. Here we go.
Here we go.
Let's get this done.
All right, time to get to work. All right, we got a new tool for third stall. It comes off of course, the heat kicks on right now. This is hopefully going to help us straighten out the front of the Beetle.
So have you ever used one of these?
No.
Okay. So this is all brand new.
Look at that. It's got a big carrying case. Obviously, it's from Beetle. Porta power jack. It's the 12-ton. Maybe they didn't do the greatest job with the sticker. They did an amazing job packing it, though. I had to go through about 6 layers of tape and straps to. Carrying case comes with wheels. Voila! Look at that. Hopefully, this can bend Dale's car back in shape. Have to see how it works. Hello friends, it is like getting close to 10 o'clock in the morning. So we've been at it for about 2 hours. We were gonna film us scratching our heads and pondering and hypothesizing, and I just want you to know that's about how long we've been at it. Here's what we're thinking. We think we like the location of the hood. You think of it swinging left to right, the way it overlaps with the fender here versus the fender there, and the apron, the way it's centered up top, we feel good about. Eyeball, these holes kind of line up. This gap here is good. So we're gonna call the location of the hood good. What we don't like is this nice surface, the flow from this surface to this does not last through here. The hood overlaps, there's an overhang here. This is too far in on this side of the car, and even more significantly on this side of the car. You can see half of my fingernail disappears, but it's all visible here. And so we're gonna call the location of the hood good And that's going to be like a data point for us. That's going to be what we're going to try to match the fenders to. So we're going to try to shift this part out a little bit. And we're going to try to shift this part out a little bit. Now, why do we need to do that? I think it could be because we don't know the condition of the car when we got it. It could be that it had been, likely it had been in at least one accident in its life and the front was messed up a little bit. That could have changed things. I think the most likely reason is we cut the front clip off and welded a new front clip on, and we literally cut it off, butted the two together and welded them back on to the best of our ability. What may have happened at that point in time when we cut the old one off, it flexed and relaxed in. Hindsight being 2020, what we should have done before we cut that off is probably weld in some braces, like from here down to there and from here down to here, and then tack weld them in the middle, which would have locked this in place. You're watching, hopefully you're learning. If you ever end up doing this, do that. We didn't, and I think that either is the cause of the problem or at least greatly contributed to it. I think we can fix it. I'm not too worried, a little bit, but not too worried. Maybe a little bit less than Dale is. But it's metal, so we just got to bend it back to the space that it was supposed to be in, and enough that it stays there. So we bought a Porta Power kit. It's a 12-ton one from Beaver off Amazon. I think we paid about $180 for it. And we are going to try pushing off of this corner where the gas tank sits. So this kit comes with a big rubber foot that goes on the back. And I think that that's a pretty strong point that we can therefore then push on this. This is what we've been scratching our heads with. And so what do we push with? The Beaver kit, come on over here, let me show you, comes with a variety of different feet you can put on the end of the hydraulic rams. This one's a big flat one, a round one. There's a great big flat one. There's like a foot that hangs off the side. Getting a little more useful for this, kind of a little castle if you're playing rook or playing chess. And then there's this one, which you can see that we modified already. Basically, it just came down to a point, and then there's a little valley in the middle. So we thought first about using this, but I'm really worried that as we push, we're gonna get a dent in a corner where this corner is. So we wanted some nice long round surface to push on. So let me come on over here, let me show you. If what we would like to do is to push the whole fender out just a touch, but even more so, the inside of this radius here is where we would like to push. So if you think of my fingers being the fender, or this quarter, we kind of want to push right in this corner and get it to bend out this way a little bit. In essence, making this quarter stand up just a touch straighter. And I'm okay if the fender moves a little bit at the same time. There is a chance that as we push here, this bends up or this surface comes up, and so we'll have to tap it back down. So the question becomes, how do we push inside that radius? And our thought was to take a big old bolt, we ground it smooth, ground the threads off. If we can get that bolt to sit right inside this radius, that'll spread out our load. Now this is also a compound curve, and so if you put a straight bolt in there, it's gonna end up hitting on these two corners and risk denting it. And so we put a bend in this bolt just a little bit in the vise so that it would kind of naturally sit right in that radius. Now we need to figure out a way to attach this to this, and our first thought was, let's just weld it on. That's great, but then what if we're pushing on an angle? We're gonna hit like that. So we need it to be able to float so that it can totter on here if needed, but we needed it to stay in place. So ground it smooth, put a small bend in it, and then added 2 little pieces of sheet metal that we tack welded on that are just to hold it in place. So now this thing can rock as needed to relax into this corner. So we're gonna try pushing off with a hydraulic ram. We still have this cut right here that we did last week. I think we're not sure, but I think for now we're gonna leave that cut there and see how things start to move. And if all of our movement happens right there more than we want, then we'll tack weld that shut. Otherwise, we're gonna just start playing with a hydraulic ram and see if we can start getting this curve to match the curve of the hood. And so we're just gonna keep trying and see what we learn along the way. So we're probably gonna go off camera or put you on time lapse for a little bit, and never used one of these before. So, you know, all we need is a willingness to try, right? That's what I keep telling myself, and we're willing to try, so here we go.
And a friend's car.
And a friend's car. You know, I wanna get through the learning curve before I get back to my Mustang, so. Thanks, Dale.
There we go. Cross your fingers, hold your breath. Pray this works.
Yep. Okay, watch right about here as Dale extends the porta power. Okay, that's good. All right, friends, here's an update as to where we are. I think we are ready to move from the driver's side to the fender side, the passenger, driver's side to the passenger. Not that we're done, but we're close. As we moved things, there we go. As we moved things, this gap here opened up, this gap closed down. So we may have to do some work to the fender yet. But this gap here looks pretty even, and if I put my scale against here, you can see that we're pretty happy with where we need to be. Now this dives, this part of the quarter dives in a little bit, so you can see there's a gap between the quarter and the scale. And we but there's not right here. And that's because Dale hired a friend with a welder instead of a welder. And we had to redo all of this piece here and did not do a good job. So this is gonna have to be, I think, built up by the body guy. But the porta power is relaxed inside. And so this is where it's comfortable sitting. And we're pretty happy with that. So I think it's time to move on to this side, where you can see we have a pretty big gap yet. But we learned a lot on this side, back and forth a whole bunch of times. You could not see a whole lot from the time lapse, sorry about that. But we went back and forth probably, I don't know, 20 times, something like that, over the process of an hour or so. So now we're gonna flip everything around and do the other side. So we are, just to show you what we're doing. You can see the clamp underneath there, the bar that we're pushing on. And we found 2 spots to push off of, work decent. The tunnel has worked the best. That rubber foot grabs pretty well. We did try pushing off of this corner here on the other side, and that worked okay right in this area. Up in this area, the bar ended up wanting to slide down into the middle of the quarter, and we did not want to push there. That would have added a big dent to this here. So we're gonna try pushing here. We ran the hose out the bottom so we can use the hood as a measurement. So Dale's gonna close the hood, and we're pushing right here. I'll set my scale right there, and we'll watch it move. Okay, Dale, you tell me when you're pumping.
All right, extending.
So the magic question is, how far do you go? So we are now to the point where we are 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch past where we want to be. Now we're noticing as we do this, it starts to really pull on that washer hole, or the bolt hole where the washer holds onto the fender, and then this started to really pinch. So we took these 2 bolts out to allow that to flex. And I don't know, I think we maybe go a little farther
I
down.
think so. Let's do another. So this is what 1 full pump does. That's 1.
So that's about a 64th of an inch.
Oh, I felt it just grabbed the hood.
Okay, so the hood is catching on the weather stripping channel. So every once in a while the hood catches that channel, and then as you pull the quarter out, the hood comes with it. So
Let's watch it go back and see what happens here.
hold on. Okay, we're gonna relax it.
Releasing slowly.
And we hope sometime it'll stop there,
Not that.
but not that time. So we still have a gap there.
Do that 20 times.
Do it 20 more times. So Dale,
Okay.
how you feeling about it?
I think this is great. When you said let's buy a porta power, I'm like, yeah, let's try something new and different. And it did exactly what it's supposed to do. But your method of pushing with the bolt cut off and stuff, I think was pretty genius, to be honest with you. Don't let it go to your head, but
We won't. We'll keep that between you, I, and our 3 viewers. By the way, thanks for all of you that have subscribed. It's been fun to watch the channel grow. I'm feeling good about that too, Dale.
Yeah.
I think our next challenge is the hood is sitting low here. So this is lower than this. And we got to figure out why that happened. My theory is that this is connected to the fact that this gap here is a little bit larger than it used to be, but don't know yet. But we're gonna probably off camera scratch our heads for a little bit on this one. That's our next challenge. So far so good. It's only noon on our bonus day. After a break for lunch and a little bit of head scratching, what we ended up doing was we took this hinge off, and these 2 slotted holes, we ground them taller. And so that way we could take these bolts right here, take these bolts right here and raise them up which in effect raised the hood. So now we are to the point where we are happy with these surfaces right across here and pretty much across the whole car as well. So that's good. We're gonna call that one a win. The next thing that we're gonna do is, and I can show you those slots. I can show you those slots once we take the hood hinge out. Because those slots are quite a bit thicker now, or the opening is wider, we're gonna weld up the bottom of it so that it's back to kind of the original dimension of it. The other thing that we're gonna try to tweak is when the hood is closed, it sticks out this way just a little bit more than it does on this side. And so we're gonna try to adjust this hinge a little bit by bending it to canter, to kick the hood a little bit over to the passenger side. And then we're gonna reassemble it one more time and cross our fingers that we like where it is. So here's the hinge out of the car. These slots are probably, they were probably about that tall. And I increased the height of it by probably 1/4 to 1/3. So now I'm gonna weld some along the bottom here just to make it back more to the original thickness, which I think will make it easier to mount the hood. I also tweaked the hood just a little bit. You can see that those two surfaces are not quite parallel with each other anymore. Not a whole lot, maybe 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. 3/16, somewhere in there. So we'll weld these up, grind them clean, and try to make it look a little better. Well, we got good news. We learned that adjusting these two bolts on the hinge, you have a lot of variables that play in affecting the hood. So those two slots can go up and down, but it also makes a big difference if you drop the back one down and the front one up, or the front one down and the back one up. And it takes somebody who's like one notch smarter than me to get their head around exactly the geometrics of it, but how you adjust that affects this gap and this height here. But what we're really proud of is at the end of the day, this gap right along here is fairly parallel the whole way across. You can see the sealed channel, but you won't be able to see the seal. And the height of it, we're happy with. The height of the quarter to the hood looks really good on this side. And if you remember at the beginning of the day, I could fit a 1/2 a fingernail underneath there, and now it's flush. Front looks good, and we have the same thing on this side where you can see my whole fingernail, whereas before 1/2 of my fingernail was covered all the way along the side there, and this looks good here. So we're happy. This has been a tough day at times, but overall looking good. So Dale, what's next for us? Because we are not done with easy step number 2 quite yet.
Yeah.
But
so easy step 1 and 2 was to have the fenders, which I thought of as step 2, but they're kind of integral to the front clip. Front clip and fenders was the goal, was to have that done before 2025, which is of course tomorrow. So we're not quite going to make that, but we are doing way better than we have in previous years. So now we've got to do the massaging here. I'm going to pull off the fender here just to make sure it's not under pressure, that we can pull it off and put it on and not have to tweak things.
Test fit, test fit, test fit.
Exactly. Loving how this is turning out. Your job is to figure out how to make this one look as pretty as the other one.
Sure. In terms of matching this curve
Yeah,
here.
it was good until we bent that whole side of the car.
Yes, we did bend that side of the car.
And then we got a little bit left to do with the bumper. So
Yeah.
we won't get it all done today, but we're cruising right along here.
This side, we're going to double check all of the fender mounting holes to make sure they're all in good shape as well. One of those was in the wrong spot, correct, Dale?
Yeah, this guy down here, the hole is totally in the wrong spot.
So we got to drill a new hole and weld it shut.
We're back to doing things we know how to do.
Yes. And then we're going to assemble it all one more time. All right, let's do it. And thus endeth another time in the third stall garage. Thanks for following along. Here's where we're ending for the night. We like how the hood is setting. We have the passenger fender all done. And the last piece we needed to do was previous episode, we had fixed this headlight bucket and tack welded it in. We decided we wanted to just fill this joint with like a seam sealer, and we decided to do it with JB Weld instead. So that's sealing that up nicely. So once that's cured, we'll put it on. And then the driver fender, we have a little bit more of a gap here than we want. The curl underneath is not quite a perfect match, so we need to massage this curl a little bit. And then we think the back edge needs to go out this way a little bit. Right now the slop is all pushed in, so we'll take a look at those holes and see if we can slide that sucker back just a touch next week. So we're feeling great about today. Our big concern was getting this spread and getting the hood to match the trunk opening, and that was a huge win. Second win for us was getting this height the way we want it, and we've got most of the problem solving done on the fender. So we're calling in tonight. I'm going over to a good friend's house who's going to feed me a good dinner. Right, Dale?
That's the plan.
That's the plan. Happy New Year's Eve, everyone. See you next week.